Hello friends, this is CA Adarsh Joshi and I welcome you to CA Final Law classes. We have learned two chapters before this. We know what do you mean by board of directors. We know a lot of things about board of directors. We know how they are appointed, who is eligible to become a board of director. We have learned about section number 149 which says a company must have a board of directors. We have also learned about various types of directors that are there. So we have learned about additional directors, alternate directors, independent directors, women director and all. Okay, that's not all. We have learned about section number 152 which says how a board of directors is to be appointed. At the same time, we have also learned about section number 169 which says how a director has to be removed from his position. So as we know a lot of stuff about the board of directors, we are going a step beyond. We are in this chapter today, we are going a step beyond. We are trying to learn what these directors are doing once they are appointed. How are they actually, we are saying that we have appointed a board of directors to manage the business. Right? So how exactly are they going to manage this business? That is going to be seen in this particular chapter. So the name of this chapter is Meeting of Board and its Power. This is the third chapter in your books and of CA Final Law. This chapter is an amazing chapter. Let me tell you this. Okay, let's just take a brief idea about what all we are going to learn in this particular chapter before actually stepping into it. So first thing first, this chapter starts from section number 173. Of course, that is logical because till now you have learned till section number 172. Is that okay? In CA Inter, you have learned from section number 1 to section number 148. From 149 to 172, we have learned about everything that is there about board of directors and key managerial personnel till now. From section number 173 till section number 193, we are going to learn about meeting of board and its power. So let me tell you one more thing. Earlier, section number 194 and section number 195, both these sections were also a part of this meeting of board and its power. But then in 2018, the Government of India omitted or removed those two sections from the ambit of Companies Act itself. So they are not enforceable as such. That is the reason that we have defined this particular chapter from 173 to 193. So all in all, there are 21 sections that we are going to learn about in this particular chapter. Okay, as we all know that by learning sections only, we are not going to understand everything that is there about the law. So to understand that, we have to learn or we have to read or we have to go through some rules as well. We have gone through a lot of rules. By now you have understood that for every chapter that is out there, for every set of sections or for every set of chapter, there is a respective rules as well. So for this chapter, we have to refer to the Companies Meeting of Board and its Power Rules 2014. So sir, how many rules are there in this particular chapter? So chapter number 12 takes care of these rules. Chapter number 12 is in the schedule. If you see the Companies Act, Bayer Act, in chapter number 12 you will see Companies Meeting of Board and its Power Rules 2014. All in all, there are 17 rules which take care of this unit of this particular chapter. So we have to learn about 21 sections and we have to read this 17 rules in collaboration with these sections to get a detail and idea about how meeting of boards takes place and all the matters that is there in this particular chapter. So let me tell you this as well. We are not going to learn about just the board meetings in this particular chapter. Let me tell you, we are going to learn huge number of things in this particular chapter. To give you a brief, let me tell you this. There are 17 rules as well, 21 sections. In these 21 sections plus 17 rules, we are going to learn about board meeting. What is the quorum? What should be the quorum for this particular board meeting? You know what the quorum is because in CA Inter you have seen what is the quorum for general meeting and all that things. So for board meeting, is there any quorum requirement as well? And if there is, what is that particular requirement? That we'll be seeing in this particular chapter, in this next section as well. Then we are also going to learn about an amazing committee known as audit committee. We being the chartered accountants, you are trying to become a chartered accountant. Also, I am already a chartered accountant. Once we are through this stage, from learning stage, when you will enter into practice or when you will go into jobs and everything, you will have to know about audit committee because they that is a specifically committee that is devoted to audits, and the chartered accountants are the people who are given the responsibility to audit, right? So of course we will be directly contacting with audit committee. We will be communicating with audit committee as well. So what is the audit committee? How is it formed? Who heads the committee? Who all are the members? What is the objective for which the committee has been made? Okay, so along with that, there are two more committees that we are going to learn in this chapter. We are going to learn about nomination and remuneration committee. This particular committee is made with respect to board of directors. We are also going to learn about stakeholder relationship committee. This committee is made to help members of the companies. Also, that's not it. I'm just giving you a brief, okay? I'm not giving you a particular section by section study. I'm giving you a brief what all concepts you're going to learn in this chapter. You're also going to learn about powers of board of directors. So what all things board of directors can do without even, without even taking permission of any member or anyone. So what are the inherent powers of the board of directors? And we're also going to learn, in the next section itself, we're going to learn what are the restrictions on the power of board. Because we need to restrict them so that they don't go haywire with their power. They don't sell off the company without even asking the members. So that should not happen. So we have also put some restrictions on the power of board. So what all restrictions are there, we are going to learn this chapter. So let me ask you one thing. Can a company make a charitable contribution? Can a company make political contribution? So all these questions will be answered in this chapter. Also at the same time, you have learned about related party in CA Inter. Now we will learn what are the rules with respect to related party transactions. How a register is to be maintained is known as related party transactions. Register is also needs to be maintained. So what are the rules with respect to that? What are the section? What does the law say? How do we do that? All these things are within the ambit of this chapter known as meeting of board and its power. So without further ado, let us begin with first section of this chapter, the section number 173, which talks about meetings of board. So let me ask you a question. Suppose you have incorporated a company ABC Limited. When should you actually conduct the first board meeting of the company? Do you know the answer to this question? No, you are going to learn right away, right now in this lecture itself. Section number 173 subsection 1 says that as soon as the company has been incorporated by complying all the provisions of the Companies Act 2013, within 30 days from the date of incorporation of a company must conduct its first board meeting. Okay, so within 30 days of incorporation of a company, you have to conduct your first board meeting. That's not all. That's not all. You cannot conduct one meeting per year and go about entire year without even meeting. A board of directors need to meet each other as number of time as possible so that they can decide as to what is our next step should be, how the company should go about and do its business. No single director can take all the decisions about the company. Even if he is a managing director of a company, he cannot decide everything by himself. For a lot of things, he will need entire board down there sitting on some chairs, in any conference room, and they will have to discuss things out, and then they will put those things to vote. And once the vote has been passed, they can do it. That whatever the resolution is, they can actually conduct that particular activity. Or else, if the resolution fails, if none of the board of directors are interested in that particular action, that action should be, dropped, cancelled. So all these decisions taken in this particular board meeting. So first board meeting you have to conduct, section 173(1) subsection 1 says, first board meeting has to be conducted within 30 days from the incorporation of a company. Now, along with that, this section further says that in one calendar year, you have to hold at least 4 board meetings. How many board meetings? 4 board meetings every calendar year. So let us see one more point that is there in this subsection. This subsection specifically says that a gap between 2 board meetings cannot be more than 120 days. Is that clear? So, first board meeting we have to hold within 30 days of incorporation of a company. And in that particular calendar year, and in every calendar year therefrom, in every calendar year you have to hold 4 board meetings. And the gap between 2 board meetings cannot be more than 120 days. So suppose let us take an example. So on 2nd of April 2019, you have taken one board meeting. Okay, 2nd of April 2019, you have taken one board meeting. In that particular calendar year, which ends on 31st of December 19, the calendar year starts from January, ends in December till December, on December, right? Clear? Financial year on the other hand is from April to March. But calendar year starts with January, ends with December. So not till on or before 31st of December 2019, you have to conduct 4 board meetings. So first board meeting you have conducted on 2nd April 19, and then the gap between first board meeting and the second board meeting should not be more than 120 days. So if you count 120 days from 2nd of April 2019, it will come to 31st of July 2019. So from 2nd of April 2019 till 31st of July 2019 is the max time period that is given between these 2 board meetings. Beyond that, it is not allowed. So the moment you have not taken a board meeting on or before 31st of July 19, you have broken, you have contravened the provisions of section 173. So the rules, this section and along with the rules says that the gap between 2 board meetings should not be more than 120 days. That's not all. It's not all. So if you imagine a scenario that you have taken a 1 board meeting in April and 1 board meeting before 31st of July, that is not all. You still have to take 2 more board meetings before 31st of December 19. Why? Because the requirement says you have to hold 4 board meetings every calendar year. Is that clear? It's not hard. You have learned something like this in general meeting with respect to general meeting as well in CA Inter syllabus. That is entirely same here. Okay, so 4 board meeting in 1 calendar year, gap between 2 board meetings should not be more than 120 days, and the first board meeting needs to be conducted within 30 days from the incorporation of a company. Let us go beyond this. Because sir, there are various types of companies which are not as big or as good as other companies. Say for example, 1-person company that only have 1 member. Okay, even it can happen that 1-person company only has 1 director. And if you have 1 director, how are you supposed to take the board meeting? So will he go into conference room, he will lock himself and say welcome sir everyone, and like he's talking to himself? That is not practically possible. So you cannot put all this sections on that particular director. So what about dormant companies? What about small companies? What about private companies which are startups? You know a startup company, right? A private company which has been recognized as startup by DIPP, Department of Industry Policy and Planning. We have learned about that as well. So the particular section does not apply on 1-person company, small company or dormant company. There are other provisions with respect to that. So if you are a 1-person company, you own a 1-person company or a small company or a dormant company, the 4 board meeting concept does not apply to you. So then what applies? Do we not need to take any board meeting throughout the year? No. You need to conduct 1 board meeting in each half of a calendar year. What did I just say? 1 board meeting in each half of the calendar year. So we have divided the calendar year here. This is the first part of the calendar year, this is the second part of the calendar year. So you have to hold 1 board meeting in this part and 1 board meeting in this part. And the gap between these 2 dates should not be more than 90 days. Do you get my point? The gap between 2 days cannot be more than 90 days. So in case you have a 1-person company or a small company or dormant company, the 4 meeting concept does not apply to you. What applies to you is 1 board meeting in each half of the calendar year, and the gap between these 2 board meetings should not be more than 90 days. Very good. Okay, let's go ahead a bit. What if there is just 1 director in a 1-person company? In that case, that particular director need not follow any of the provisions of this act. With respect to meeting, I'm saying. With respect to meeting, you don't have to follow any act. Why? Because this is 1 director, man. So 1 director cannot hold a board meeting. So he will talk to himself in that case. Okay. Along with that, there are certain other types of companies as well. So there's one notification that you should take care of. There's one notification with respect to Section 8 companies. The Section 8 companies as well, the 4 board meeting thing does not apply. For them, the rule is the Section 8 company must conduct at least 1 meeting every 6 calendar months. 1 meeting every 6 calendar month. It does not say first half of the calendar year and second half of the calendar year. Instead what it is saying is 1 board meeting in every 6 calendar months. Okay, so you need to keep that in mind. And there's one catch though. There's one catch. There's nothing about the gap between 2 meetings. Okay, so they are very simple. They have just said that within every 6 calendar months, after every calendar month, you have to take 1 board meeting. So that what will happen in every 6 calendar months, you will have 1 board meeting. There is nothing about the gap between 2 meetings. Nothing. But there is a catch. This exception or this modification which is beneficial to Section 8 company, obviously, because they are there for charitable purpose, and so board meetings are not free or not cheap. You have to bring all your board of directors in one particular place, and we will learn all about the board meetings, and you will know there is a concept of sitting fees as well. So it's not, you cannot say that conducting a board meeting is a free of cost thing. It might or might not be. So for Section 8 companies to take the benefit of this particular section, what or is this particular exemption or modification, what they will have to do is they will have to make sure that they have not contravened the provision of section 137 and 92. We have learned both of these sections in CA Inter. We know that section number 1, also we have revised it many a times in last 2 chapters. We know that section number 137 talks about financial statements, and at the same time section number 92 talks about annual return. So if that particular Section 8 company has not contravened any of the provision with respect to financial statement and annual return as given in section 137 and section 92, they will be eligible to take the benefit of this modification. So they will hold one board meeting in every 6 calendar month. Is that clear? Should we go ahead? Is this clear? Okay. So, sir, what about private company? You were saying something about private company, which is a startup company. So, guys, for private company, which is a startup, everything remains same as if you are a dormant company or a small company or a one-person company. So, whatever we have learned about one-person company, small company, dormant company, will also apply for a private company, which is a startup. So, in short, for a private company which is a startup, at least one board meeting needs to be conducted in each half of the calendar year, and the gap between 2 board meetings should not be more than 90 days. Okay, do you get the point? So in case of one-person company with only one director, nothing applies with respect to board meeting. He does not have to take any conduct any board meeting as such. Is that okay? So also, if you are a private company which is a startup and you want to take the benefit of this exemption, okay, you are getting benefited by not holding 4 board meetings, right? You just have to hold 2 board meetings. So to get the benefit of this particular exemption, you need to make sure that you don't contravene the provision of section 137 and 92. Means you have filed your financial statements on time, regular, properly, and at the same time you have filed the annual return within due date as well. Okay. So then, what else? How does it actually happen? Like when you say, sir, what do you actually mean by the term board meeting? So the board meeting means nothing but like suppose we own a company, we have a company, and there are suppose 6 directors, we have 6 directors. So what the concept of board meeting is, all 6 of them will sit in circle in a conference room or somewhere, and they will decide what the future steps of action the company should take. Simple as that. So board meeting can be done physically. Okay, so what if I have a query? So what if one of the 6 this director is not in India? He's not in India. And sir, also other one is he's not feeling well, so he's hospitalized or something, or maybe he's staying at home. He does not have legs and he cannot come for the meeting. So what will happen in that particular case? Because what will happen is one person is in foreign country and one other person is bedridden, so he cannot come down to that particular meeting, and that person also is not able to spend that much money and come to the 1 hour of meeting. So can we not do video conferencing or Zoom session that we are doing? So even for our classes we are using Zoom nowadays. So cannot the company use some electronic or audio visual means for conducting the meeting? The answer would be yes. So this particular section number 173 that we are learning now, subsection 2 talks about this. Subsection 2 of section number 173 says that this act, Companies Act, allows a director of a company to attend a board meeting in following 3 manners. You have 3 manners, just keep in mind. First is very simple. In person, physically go and attend the meeting. You will know the venue, go to that particular venue, sit on the particular chair, or every director will be there, discuss and end. So go physically there. So what second alternative does he have? Second alternative is through video conferencing. What is the second alternative for? Video conferencing. And we also have a third alternative known as other audio visual means. Other prescribed audio visual means. So of course, as I have said, that no section can be read independently without first taking help of rules. So with this respect, you have an entire rule for how to conduct a board meeting with video conferencing that we are going to learn in this particular chapter, in this particular lecture itself. We will today learn how a meeting is being held and conducted in this electronic mode, and what do you mean by this electronic video conferencing, and what do you mean by other audio visual means. Okay, so without wasting further time, let's just dive into the concept. So now you know that these three are the modes of attending a meeting. You can go physically, you can go by the video conferencing, and you can also go by other audio visual means. Now, what does this other audio visual means mean? Okay, so other audio visual or electronic communication facility means a facility which has been employed, okay, by the company, which enables all the persons participating in a meeting to communicate concurrently. Let us take an example of our WhatsApp video call. Each and every one of you might have done that in your life. Either you would have used Duo app, or I think WhatsApp, Telegram, maybe Facebook Live, Instagram, a lot of things that you have used. Okay, I'm not sure about Facebook Live. Is there a conference call possible in that particular thing? But then WhatsApp, we can do Duo, Google Meet, and all this kind of Zoom, WebEx, all these things. What we are doing is we are attending a meeting. What we are doing, if you call two of your friends with a video conferencing app, say WhatsApp, you are conducting nothing but a video conferencing meeting, because each one of you can see the other one, each one of you can listen to what other people are saying, and they can counter react on that particular instant. So this other audio visual means that one person is capable of looking at, like seeing one others, as well as listening to others. At the same time, he can cut someone and speak himself out. So this means other audio visual means. So okay, so one thing that needs to be taken care of here is, if you can only hear and you cannot say, or if you can only see but cannot hear what the other people are saying, that does not define audio visual means. This kind of meeting is not valid as per Companies Act. So you must be concurrently be able to see as well as talk in that particular meeting. That kind of a video conferencing meeting is known as other audio visual means. You got my point? Okay, yeah. So sir, this other audio visual means is very difficult, right? No, well, see, we have two thumb rules for this. And it's very general, very common. Let us take Zoom session for an instance. Suppose every board of directors agree for a meeting via Zoom app. So as you can see, there's a lockdown and people are not able to go out. So it's better to have a meeting over a Zoom call. So let us see whether a Zoom call is allowed as per Companies Act or not. Because it's a practical situation. Let us see whether it is allowed or not. So Companies Act says you need to check two thumb rules. If there is two thumb rules, you need to check both of them. First thumb rule says that the audio visual means should be capable of recording and recognizing the participation of the director. The audio visual means, that is the Zoom session, should be capable of two things. What? Recording and recognizing the director. The app should be able to record whatever the director is saying, or that he has entered the meeting. Also, the app should be ready to recognize. So, obviously the app will not recognize that this person is director, but someone will be managing the meeting. So, for everything that is there, like for physical meeting as well, you have a chairperson of the meeting or chairperson of the company that we have learned in CA Inter as well. So, what does a chairperson of a meeting does? He just manages the meeting, right? So, that particular chairperson will say, yeah, this is the correct director and we want him into the meeting. So, that particular app should be able to record and recognize the contribution of the director, the participation of director, and at the same time, thumb rule number 2 says the audio visual means should be capable of recording and storing the proceedings of such meeting along with date and time. You don't have to just record the meeting, you have to record and store the proceedings of the meeting with particular time and date stamp. So what does that mean? in Zoom app, you will get an option to record the meeting as well. So why is that particular option there in that particular app? Because Indian Companies Act itself says that if you can't record the proceeding of a meeting, you cannot hold a genuine proper board meeting via that app. Why, sir? Why is recording that much important? You know, for everything that has happened in the board meeting, you have to make a minutes of board. Of course, you understand what is the minutes of board. You see, I'll give you an example. Have you seen any movie wherein any court case is being fought in between parties? Any movie that you imagine, there is a judge. There are two people standing, fighting each other. There are two advocates standing, and there is one guy or a lady sitting on a typewriter and typing continuously whatever people are saying. So, like a defendant says this. Okay, the advocate of the defendant shows this. So the judge says this, or the victim says this, or the whatever. Like whoever is saying whatever in that particular court, in that particular proceeding, is being noted down by that particular person. So why do you think is he noting down everything? Because he wants to create the minute of the proceedings of this particular meeting. He wants to note the each and every fact, what has because tomorrow what can happen, an advocate can say that no, you have misunderstood my sentence, I have never said that. So you are stopped from denying your own sentence. Because that person sitting that day in that particular meeting has recorded that in writing. So now you cannot say that no, I have not said that, or I have not voted in favor of that particular resolution, I have voted against for that resolution. You cannot deny what you have done in the meeting because everything is being documented simultaneously, concurrently at the same time. This is the importance of a minutes. So, of course, if it is that important to keep the minutes, it is of course very important to record the proceedings of the meeting. So, if an app has a capability of recording the entire meeting, then that particular app can be used for conducting a valid board meeting in electronic. Did you get my point? Okay, we have learned a lot about this. Two thumb rules. We will see whether the app is able to record and recognize the participation of director. Okay, that Mr. So-and-so has joined. He is a independent director. Also, Mrs. So-and-so has joined. She is a woman director. Also, Mr. XYZ has joined. He is a normal director. He is an additional director. He is an alternate director. This person I don't recognize. If that person is not recognizable, he is not welcome in that meeting. And if he is not welcome in that meeting, he should be removed from the meeting because this is a closed meeting. This is a board meeting that we are doing. So, if you are not on the board, you should not be in a meeting. And that sounds fair, correct? If you are not on the board of the directors of the company, you are not invited for the board meeting because the meeting is supposed to be only for the board. Okay, yeah. Now, of course, there are certain matters that needs to be taken care of while conducting a meeting in electronic mode. So, we will see step by step that what things, what matters we should keep in mind. So, of course, let me tell you one more thing. Do you think everything is capable of being discussing on video conferencing? Do you think everything is capable to be discussed on video conferencing? Like everything, anything. Like if you want to sell your, if people are discussing, like let us sell our company. And this discussion is going on in video conferencing. Do you not think this particular transaction is very pivotal or very important that people should meet in person, physically face each other and then decide on this particular matter? Even Companies Act feels so. Rule 4 of Companies Meeting of Board and its power rule 2014 specifies that there are certain actions, there are certain businesses which cannot be managed or which cannot be decided upon by the board of directors via this video conferencing. So you have to confine to some of the businesses that you can do in video conferencing, whereas there are some 5 businesses which they have specifically given in under Rule 4 which you cannot do via video conferencing, and that is logical. As we have just discussed, you cannot sell the entire company on electronically, right? Okay, so let us go one by one and see what 5 businesses we are not allowed to conduct via virtual video conferencing. So first and foremost, most important thing is every year we have to file some financial statements. We have studied that in section 137 in CA Inter syllabus as well. So as we know that the annual financial statements need to be signed by the board of directors. We know who is supposed to sign them, right? So the approval of such annual financial statements needs to be done in the presence, by physically being present in that particular meeting. In short, we cannot conduct that business, we cannot approve the financial statements of the company electronically via video conferencing. So no matter, you might be using Zoom, WebEx or Google Meet, you cannot approve your annual returns, annual financial statements. Along with that, board report, as we have seen in section 137, board report also needs signing and approval, and that again has to be done physically, personally as well, and not on video conferencing. What about prospectus? So sir, prospectus is the way company is going to talk to directly investors of the company, maybe future members of the company. So when this is one of the most important document that is being made by the company, because we are going to represent ourselves out in the market. We are going to, we are going to try and attract attention of members towards our company. So that document must not be, approved or signed via electronically and using video conferencing, and rather it should be done physically by, physically being present in that particular meeting. We have seen three things. What all three things have we seen? We have seen approval of annual financial statement, we have seen approval of board report, and approval of prospectus. These are the three things. Now, along with that, as I have already told you, that we are going to learn about the functions of audit committee here in this chapter. There are, of course, audit committee also conducts some meetings. That is audit committee's meetings. That is different meeting altogether. It's not board of directors. The board of directors are meeting is different. It is like board meeting. But then audit committee also they have to meet and decide what their future course of actions should be. So for that they are also holding meetings. Audit committee members are also holding meetings. They also hold meeting for consideration of financial statement, including the consolidated financial statement of the company. Okay, and they will go through them and they will approve the same, so that now it will go to board. Now it will go to board for approval. So first audit committee, so that auditor will give the same to board of audit committee. Audit committee will approve them, give it to board of directors, and then board of directors will include that in the reports. So that part also, this approval part also needs to be done by the board in this particular physical meeting only, and not by video conferencing. And last, approval of all the matters with respect to amalgamation, mergers, demergers, acquisitions, takeovers. All these are big issues, big things, a lot of points to be considered, and has to be done by being physically present in a meeting. So there's 5 things we are not supposed to do with video conferencing. First was financial statements, and then board report. Financial statement, board report, prospectus. This is very simple. Approval of financial statement, approval of board report, approval of this prospectus. Then there was a concept of audit committee. So audit committee meetings are being held for approval of financial statement, including CFS. Then it goes to board of directors. For that approval as well, they have to physically meet. And the last one is approval with respect to amalgamation, merger, demerger, acquisition, takeovers, and all that. So all these things needs to be done by being physically present in the meeting, and cannot be done via video conferencing. So let me ask you one more question. Sir, what if whatever the required quorum for the meeting would be, that we are going to study in some future chapters or future lectures? So suppose the physical quorum is present in the meeting, but some of the directors want to join electronically, say via video conferencing, and in that particular meeting they want to do any of these 5 things. Suppose they want to approve the prospectus. So approval of prospectus is something which has to be done physically. But then the quorum is present physically, but some of the directors have joined through video conferencing. Can they decide on this particular approval of prospectus, or they will have to ask those 2 video conferencing guys to disconnect, and then the remaining directors, if the quorum is still on, they will decide? No. If the quorum is present physically, then they can do all the acts, all the 5 businesses they can do, because the number of people, the number of votes that is being required for any particular task is present, quorum is present, so meeting can be held anyway. So that doesn't matter that some of the directors are using video conferencing and rest all are present personally. So if the quorum is there physically, means physical number of whatever the required quorum would be, we will be reading about that in some time. So whatever the required quorum would be is physically present at the meeting, and some of the directors have joined through video conferencing. It doesn't matter, you can go about and do all those works, all the 5 if you want to, all the 5 things that we have asked you not to do. You can do all, and there is no requirement as such for that, because the quorum is physically present. So now you were mentioning that to conduct this meeting, we need to follow a certain procedure. So yes, there is a huge procedure. There are very much points. There are a long list of points that we'll have to go through. We'll have to manage. We'll have to keep in mind. We'll have to make sure that we follow them to conduct a video conferencing board meeting in the way Companies Act is suggesting us to conduct. Okay. So what are those points that we need to consider? So let's go through all the points. You have the table in front of you in your books. Let's go through each and every point one by one. So the very first thing that the company is supposed to do is that company shall make necessary arrangements for the video conferencing meeting. So it should not happen that people have joined and then Mr. A is not able to hear Mr. B, or that something Mr. B is murmuring or saying, but then we are not able to clearly listen to what, or maybe when Mr. B is speaking, his video is going off. Okay, so it should not happen that if Mr. B is saying something, it should not happen that others' videos or others' sound is getting distorted or overwritten, or then maybe there's some decline of volume or something like that. So it should not happen. So someone in the company should be responsible for making sure that whatever the arrangements needs to be done for this video conferencing meeting should be taken care of before the meeting starts. So the first and foremost thing that the company needs to do is make sure that the necessary arrangements with respect to audio and visual capacities and connections are taken care of. It should not happen that everyone is ready, say suppose at 6 p.m. The meeting was supposed to start, and then exactly at 5:30 the electricity is gone. Now we don't have power backup, and then our internet is not working. People are sitting there at their individual houses and they're trying to connect to the meeting, but they're not able to connect. Why? Because the company's internet is gone off. This should not happen. You should be prepared for all these uncertainties and emergency situations. You should have power backup. You should have lease lines or something like that, which doesn't get affected due to non-availability of electricity, and you should be well maintained to conduct this particular business meeting. Second thing, the person responsible to manage this meeting is a chairperson. He is not supposed to do it alone. If there is a secretary appointed in the company, chairperson along with the secretary, if he is appointed, will take due care of and do reasonable care to safeguard the integrity of the meeting. Sir, what do you mean by integrity? Sir, it should not happen that someone else who is not supposed to have the access to the meeting is also getting access to the meeting. Or people are, the link is getting hacked, or someone who is, obviously there are cases of corporate espionage, as you might know. So it should not happen that someone is, taking advantage of your video conferencing meeting, and he has somehow managed to steal the integrity of the meeting. It should not happen that he is saying some random person, someone who is not even on the board, is randomly voting on the meeting, and he's saying some random stuff on the meeting. So who is going to take care of this? Who is going to take care of the integrity of the meeting? The chairman along with the company secretary, if he is appointed. Both of them are supposed to take reasonable care. Why reasonable care? Because no one knows technology 100%. As it may happen that we have plugged all the loopholes that were there with respect to technology, but somehow still a hacker managed to hack the system. So, but okay, no one can be 100% assured that now nothing can happen to my meeting. We cannot say that. But at least you can be reasonably certain that okay, now my integrity is, according to me, now my integrity is intact. Now no one will be able to hijack our meeting or something like that. Okay, you should take reasonable care. So you should, appoint a consultant for that matter if you want to, or if you need be, but do something with that. Next, to ensure the availability of proper video conferencing or other audiovisual equipments or facilities for providing transmission of the communication for effective participation of directors and other authorized participants. So it should not happen that some of the director is calling, okay sir, I don't have the required, I don't have a webcam to to sit in front of and attend the meeting, or I don't have a laptop that much capable to attend the meeting, or maybe I don't have a laptop, I have a mobile, but then from mobile I will not be able to read and take care of all the things that are supposed to be taken care of in the meeting. Okay, so it should happen that people have all the things, that is all the equipments that are necessary for the conduct of that particular meeting. Also, chairperson along with CS of the company, if he is appointed, are also liable to take reasonable care that the record proceedings are prepared and the minutes of the meeting are being maintained. What they have to see is, they have to record the proceedings, whatever, whosoever is speaking, whatever, like from the moment the chairman says, okay, now let us start our meeting, from that moment on till the time chairman says, okay, thanks a lot, it was wonderful to see you guys, and now I conclude the meeting, till that sentence, everything that happens in between should be recorded and maintained as a minute properly by the chairperson and the secretary. Also, store for safekeeping the tape recordings or other electronic recording, whatever the mechanism you might be using, record the meeting and keep it for safekeeping with the company. Okay. You see, it's very important, as I have already told you, that minutes are most important part of the meeting. So any meeting you take, the focus is very much given on the minutes, because once it is written down in the minutes, you cannot deny that those facts. So who is going to take care of this responsibility? The chairperson along with secretary is going to take care of this responsibility to safeguard the tape recordings of the particular meeting. Okay, this will be the part of their responsibility. Okay, and they will have to keep it till the time the audit of the company has been conducted. So once auditor has been through all of them, and then auditor says, okay, now I have gone through all the meetings and all the proceedings and all the minutes and all the recordings of the meetings that I was supposed to see. Now, after the audit, they can, just start, because see, like video recording of hours and hours of meeting requires a huge amount of space to keep, and a lot of expense can also be incurred for that. So yeah, okay, after that you can delete, but once till the time the audit is finished for that particular year, you have to maintain those recordings. Okay, and one more thing, sir, no other person other than the directors and whosoever expert who might be allowed in that particular meeting, no unauthorized person should get access to this video conferencing or video visual meetings, this audio visual meetings. No one else other than the directors or the persons who are authorized to enter those meetings should get access to those meetings. This is very crucial, because ultimately it will hamper the integrity, or it may result in corporate espionage, or it may result in leaking some price sensitive information about the company which was not supposed to go out in the market. Okay, and also the participants attending the meeting through audio visual means are able to hear and see each other clearly. This should also be taken care of by the manager, the chairperson and the secretary. It should not happen that Mr. A, suppose there are 10 people in the meeting and first person is not able to see the 10th one, or the 8th person is not able to see the 4th one, or that 10th person is not able to hear what the first person is saying. So, or that the whatever chairperson is saying cannot be heard by each and every person clearly. So this should not happen. The care should be taken. So basically, now while reading these points, please keep in mind, you have to make sure that the audio visual meeting should be as clear, as crystal clear as the physical meetings. You have to bring them so close that it should not matter. It should not even matter that we are meeting electronically and not physically. So we are striving to bridge the gap between electronic meeting and physical meetings. So that's what we are trying. In this Companies Act itself says that you have to try and take meeting in such a way that it doesn't matter whether you are meeting physically or electronically. It should happen that the meeting's integrity and timeliness and everything should be taken care of. Security, everything should be taken care of. Okay. Then what if one of our director is blind? Now chairperson and secretaries, they are not God, okay, and the person is blind, okay, and now even if he wants to say something, he'll, if the chairperson says anyone have a question, raise the hand, but the blind person will not be able to see who has raised the hand, correct? So it can happen that a blind person might need some assistant to guide him as to who is raising the hand. So that permissions can be taken. If you are a differently abled person, if a director is a differently abled person, he may, with prior permission of board, by properly requesting the board, allow a person to accompany him and help him in the meeting. So maybe someone is deaf, or maybe someone cannot speak, or anything like that. So any case like that needs special permission from board, so that someone else can accompany the director, and the accompanying person will help the director to better understand what is exactly happening in the meeting. So that can be taken care of by due permission. So these are all the functions that needs to be taken care of by the chairperson along with company secretary. So the meeting, how is the electronic meeting being conducted? Like when is the notice sent, and what sort of notice do you have to mention, what all you have to mention in the notice calling the meeting electronically? Let us see that part now. So notice shall be sent to all the directors in accordance with the provision of the sections 173(3), which we are going to learn after some time in today's lecture itself. Okay, notice shall inform the directors that they have an option to attend the meeting either physically or through video conferencing or other audio visual means. The notice specifically should give an option to the directors. It should not happen that directors are not sure whether they can attend electronically, or maybe they are calling other directors, or maybe they are calling the company secretary, or whether we can attend electronically, or do we have to be present in that particular meeting. It should not create a confusion. Notice should be crystal clear, inviting or maybe giving option to all the directors that you can either be physically present in the meeting, or else you have an option to participate through video conferencing mode or other audio visual means, whatever the mean may be allowed by the company. Okay, if just understand this point, if I am asking you to join a particular meeting electronically via video conferencing, you should know what all things are to be taken care of in that particular meeting. So there might be a lot of things I should know. Maybe some related party transaction has been taken care of in that particular meeting. Maybe some other transaction, maybe some big transaction has been taken care of in that meeting, and I should know something about that particular transaction to decide whether we should do that transaction or not. So all the necessary documents, information that is required for me to decide upon that particular matter in the meeting should be given along with that notice, so that to empower the director to decide whether he wants to vote against or for that particular resolution. So everything that is required for a director to decide whether he wants to vote for or against the resolution should be given along with the notice calling the meeting, board meeting. Okay. Now what if some of the directors are intending to join electronically, while some says no, I don't want to get in all that trouble. I will sit in my car and I will directly come to the office or whatever the place that they have decided for the board meeting, and I will attend physically. So how will the company know which of the directors are going to attend from video conferencing and who all are going to be physically present? Because they will have to make physical arrangement as well as electronic arrangement, and also they will have to check. They have a lot of long list of things that they need to take care of. They need to take care of audio visual means. They need to take care of internet, room. If the people are physically coming to the AC and all that thing. Also along with that, they need to take care of electronic meeting things as well. So what should happen? If a director intends to participate through video conferencing or other audiovisual means, he shall give prior intimation to that effect. He shall give prior intimation to that effect, and he shall what will happen by this intimation is the company will know that this person is going to join via video conferencing. They will prepare for that person to join. They will do all the things that are necessary to enable that particular director to join the meeting. Okay, and at the same time, a director who wishes to participate physically, like in the meeting, Also, he should inform that, okay, I will not be joining electronically, I will be joining physically. Or else what can happen, if you say nothing over the notice, like if you say nothing, we will assume that you are going to physically be present in the meeting. Because if you want to join electronically, you need to intimate the company that no, I will not be coming down physically, I will be joining you through electronic mode. So that they can prepare themselves. Simple as that. Okay, what you can do is, suppose there is a Mr. X. Now, Mr. X is a director in a company and he is going to Australia for a couple of years because he is managing that part of that region, or maybe he is managing the whole of Australia for our business. And 2 years down the line, he will not be, like still 2 years from today, he will not be returning to India anytime soon. Okay. So now, what he can do is, he can give a declaration that throughout the year, I will be joining all the board meetings that are supposed to happen via electronic mode only. I will not be present personally in any of the meetings. So no matter, I will not be able to give you notice every time you send me a notice of meeting. I have to send you an intimation that no, I'll joining electronically. No, that rubbish. Okay. Throughout the year, where you want to take 4, you want to take 10, you are going to take 50 board meetings. Each and every board meeting, wherever I get a notice to join the board meeting, I will be joining electronically only. Now this is valid as per Companies Act, and Companies Act says this can be done. So now what will happen, whenever you send notice to him, we will not wait for him to reply. We will assume he will be joining electronically because he has given us a declaration to that effect at the beginning of the year itself. Okay. However, such declaration will not, restrict him not to attend physically. So suppose if it happens that for certain personal reason or for any reason, he has come down to India, and now fate has like the next meeting is being scheduled in upcoming week, and he is in India, he is in same town where the meeting is going to happen. Now he thinks that okay, it's been long, let's go there and let's be physically present in this meeting for a change. Because every time I join through video conferencing, now that I'm here and the meeting is also here, I'll go physically, I'll not go with electronic mode. This, you cannot deny him the entry to that meeting physically. You cannot say no, you have given declaration from the beginning of the year that you will be joining electronically only. Now I can't allow you to sit in this chair because we have counted chairs for counted members. We don't have extra chair. You cannot say that. The declaration that the person has given does not restrict the right that he has to attend the meeting physically. So even if the director has given the declaration that he will be joining all the meetings throughout the year electronically, it does not debar him. It does not debar him from participating in the meeting in person. Okay. In that case as well, also, see, this is very logical that if that particular Mr. A decides to physically be present in the upcoming meeting rather than being electronically present as he does for all the meetings, what he has to do is he just have to intimate the company. Inform the company. Inform the chairperson or the company secretary that see, Mr. So and so, I am Mr. A, I am a director of a company, so every time I join from video conferencing, but this time for this particular upcoming meeting, I will be joining in personally, so that those people will manage things accordingly. So all you have to do is just intimate that I will be joining physically and not electronically. Okay. So, and you have also known that if a notice is sent for giving you an option to join physically as well as electronically, and if it so happens that you have not responded the way you are going to connect to the meeting, and you have not said anything, like you didn't say I'll be there physically, you didn't say I'll be there with electronic form, they will assume that you are going to be there in physical form. What the basic assumption that they will keep, if nothing comes back from the director, they have a right to assume that this director is going to be physically present in the meeting. They will not prepare for you to join electronically. If you wish to join electronically, intimate the same to the company. This is a basic ground rule for that. If you are going to join electronically, intimate the company. For throughout the year, if you want to join all the meetings electronically, intimate the same to the company as well. And whenever if so happens that you wish to physically be present, and you have already given a declaration that I will be present electronically throughout the year, just intimate them that this time as an exception, I will be coming personally. So be prepared for that. And by informing that, you have gained your right, and you will be allowed to be personally present in that particular meeting. So what are the process? What all documents needs to go with the meeting? Let's see some process. We'll see that part in 173.3.4 and we'll see. But let me ask you one question. So how will we come to know that all the directors who were invited in that particular meeting have actually joined the meeting, and that they are able to hear clearly, or maybe they are able to get the clear visual of whosoever is joined in the meeting? How will we get to know? So of course there has to be some roll call. In schools you used to have roll call. You used to say present ma'am, present sir, yes sir, no sir, whatever that is. So in that fashion, there is something called roll call. What happens is, at the commencement of the meeting, a roll call is taken by the chairperson. Of course, why chairperson? Chairperson is the manager of the meeting. He is managing that particular meeting. He knows who was going to join physically. He alone knows who were going to join electronically. So he will be taking the roll call, and at this point, every director participating through video conferencing or other audiovisual means shall state the record following. What all following? Their name. First thing, they're like, I, Mr. A, I am present and I can hear you clearly, I can see you clearly, I am able to hear other people clearly as well. I am present through electronic mean or other audiovisual means. So chairman will understand, yeah, Mr. A was a part of this meeting and he is able to clearly see all the members, he is able to hear us clearly and all. His voting thing is also working. Okay, right, yeah, present. Okay, roll call. Also you have to mention that from which location or from where are you connecting. Okay, so maybe I am from my home, or maybe in this area, or maybe some another city, maybe some other district, maybe some other country. Whatever as the case may be, you have to say that I, Mr. Adarsh, I am like connecting from this particular city. Okay, and you have to declare one most important thing. What? That you have received the agenda and all the relevant material that was required for this particular meeting. You have to tell this on record. Why are you asked to say this? Is it will go on record. As you know that entire meeting is going to get recorded, right? So on record you have yourself said that my name is this, I am connecting from this place, and I have received the agenda of the meeting. Now you cannot deny that you don't know what the things are going to be. Yeah, on what matters are we going to discuss? You can't say that I didn't know that we were going to discuss on this matters, because people will say, no, how did you say that? Like, you received the agenda for the meeting. So of course, whatever was there to be discussed at the meeting was written in the agenda. That means you have received the agenda, but you have not read through the agenda. Or you cannot say that I have not received the required document for taking decision, because you have on record you have accepted the fact that you have received all the documents, that is all the documents and information that is required for this particular meeting. Okay, and you have to say one more thing. You have to say that other than you, in that particular meeting, other than you, no one else is present in this meeting. No piggybacking. So you alone are witnessing this meeting. You alone are participating, and no one is there behind your shoulder and just looking through the meeting or not. Okay. So you have to say that no one other than the concerned director himself is attending or having access to the proceedings of the meeting. Okay. Clear? And if suppose it's a room, or if it's a studio from where you are connecting, that no one else is looking at or hearing whatever our meeting is going to happen, or whatever we are going to discuss. This you have to say clearly to the chairperson. As we also know that for every meeting to be valid, the quorum must be present. So whatever the required number of people that needs to be present in that particular meeting should be present. So how will you come to know that the quorum is present? So what people will be doing is, a director participating in meeting through video conferencing or other audiovisual means shall be counted only for the purpose of quorum. Okay. So it can also happen that what the matters they are about to discuss as a director, you are not allowed to vote on that matters. It can happen. I will see. We are going to learn everything that is there in the Companies Act. Okay, so it can happen that you have certain transactions with your related party, and company is deciding whether we should do that particular transaction with a related party of one particular director. That is me. I will not get to vote on this particular topic. Why? Because he is my relative. I will of course I will vote yes. I need to do business with him. So other than you, all other directors will decide whether they want our company, to work with your relative, or to have a business transaction with your relative or not. So in this case, you will be excluded while calculating the quorum. You will be excluded because you are not supposed to vote on that particular matter. So for all the matters that are there in front of us, we will be counting quorum to see whether the persons required to be present in the meeting and vote are whatever the minimum required number of members should be. That is, it is in section 174. We are going to do it in our next lecture. Whether they are present or not will be seen in this part. Okay. Oh. Quorum is something which is taken care of not just at the beginning of the meeting. So throughout the meeting, chairperson is responsible to make sure that the minimum required quorum requirement is fulfilled. It should not happen that some people have left the meeting, say for personal reasons or some other technical reasons or some whatever the reason may be, that some people have dropped out of the meeting. It should not happen that there was quorum earlier, but then due to some people dropping out of the meetings, the quorum is not there. And if there is no quorum, they cannot do any business as such in that particular meeting. They will have to postpone the meeting for some other time. So chairman is supposed to look at this thing carefully, and whatever the scheduled venue is for that particular meeting, say office, your registered office or somewhere else, there is no requirement as such for board meeting to be held in your company's office only. Let me tell you this, there is a requirement for general meeting, right? I understand, we have read, I know, for board meeting there is none. You have entire company here in Hyderabad, but then all your directors wish to meet in Switzerland, they can, no one can stop them. It's their choice where they wish to take the general meeting, board meeting. So there is no requirement as such, but whatever place that they have decided, the venue will be, so for electronically people joining, for the people who are joining through electronic mode, for them also, it will be considered that this meeting was done in Switzerland. No matter, you are in Hyderabad, you have joined through video conferencing, but some of the directors are in Switzerland, so apparently the venue of the meeting was also decided Switzerland. So for you also it will be considered that no matter, you were in Hyderabad, but then the meeting held in Switzerland. But then how I was in Pune or maybe Hyderabad, but the meeting held in Switzerland. How come? Because that was the originally decided venue of the meeting. It doesn't matter that you have, because see, everyone will be joining from different locations. So we need to keep one location for that particular meeting. So what that one location will be, so wherever while calling the meeting, so whatever the place that you have mentioned, the notice that this at this place at this time on this day the meeting is going to happen, those time, place and date will be there, and that place will be, we will consider that place as a meeting place, and in the minutes as well we will consider no the meeting happened in Switzerland. Some of the people joined through video conferencing, but the meeting happened in Switzerland. That can happen. Okay. Now, what about signing of statutory registers, placed at the scheduled venue? Because it can happen that you need to sign certain things. But now you have joined through electronic means. How will you join? How will you sign those registers? You tell me. How would you have joined the meeting electronically? How will you sign physical registers? So what happens, it will be deemed, it will be assumed that you have signed those registers if you have consented to signing or not. So the statutory register shall be deemed to have been signed by the directors participating through electronic mode, if, only if, this is very important, please highlight and underline, if they have given their consent to this effect and it is so recorded in the minutes of the meeting. So if I go through the video recording, I will see that person, Mr. A, sitting in Hyderabad, has joined the meeting via video conferencing and he is accepting, yes, assume that I have signed in that register. It will be assumed that he has signed in that register. Because he did not go to Switzerland and sign and then come back and join the meeting. No, he has said that assume that I have joined the register, it will be assumed that he has signed the register. So it's just that he wished to sign, but due to this distance, he is not able to sign. So we will assume that he has signed the register. Why is it written this way? Because we want to facilitate trade. We don't want you to we don't want to make a law like irritating law. We want to make simpler and easier and convenient law so that things go smoothly. This is where smoothness of law comes into picture. From this particular act, you come to know that no, our law is supporting us in business. It is saying that even if you physically are not able to sign the register, we can assume that you have signed the register if you, on record, if you accept to sign the register. Isn't it good, right? Okay, what if suppose Mr. A here is he was making his own point about some resolution. And suddenly Mr. B jumped into the conversation and he started to make his point. And he completed 2-3 sentences and Mr. A didn't even realize he was also talking and Mr. B was also talking. So rest of the directors were not able to figure out who was saying what. Because what happened was on the same line, two people are communicating at the same time, instantly, like continuously. So here chairman's work comes into picture. What you as a chairman are supposed to do, you have to stop both. Wait. You will ask Mr. B, let Mr. A finish his sentence. Or let Mr. A make his point. Once he is done, I will give you an opportunity. You are saying to Mr. B, I will give you an opportunity to talk or to speak on that matter. Don't garble or don't interrupt while someone else is speaking. What happens is when you interrupt or you garble, what happens is other directors are not able to understand what the person was saying or what his exact point was. So it is the responsibility of chairperson or maybe company secretary. He can also do one thing. What he can do is he will ask Mr. A to repeat whatever he was saying. Reason being, because when he was saying those things, Mr. B interrupted, and because of that, Mr. A's words were not clear and rest of the directors were not able to make out what exactly Mr. A's point was. So what chairperson or secretary will do, they will ask Mr. A to repeat or reiterate whatever he was saying till then. Okay, and once he is finished, chairman will say, now I will go to Mr. B and we will hear whatever Mr. B has to say on this particular matter. Is that clear? So does it mean you cannot raise an objection against any person or any, if someone is making a point? No, it is not like that. Let him complete and then you can object. In next point, we will understand in point number 11. If a motion is objected to and there is a need to put it to vote, it's an objective. I am saying that I agree to this particular statement or this particular action. There might be some director who say, no, I don't agree. So then how will we realize, how will we come to know how many directors want to do that particular act and how many directors want us not to do that particular act? Let's put it to vote. Let's see how many votes for yes and how many votes for no. If the votes for yes is more than votes for no, then the resolution has passed. If it is an ordinary resolution. If the number of no's are more than number of yes, the resolution is declined, failed. And if a special resolution is required for that matter, we will see the 3/4 majority. We will see whether we can make 75% people vote for the yes part of it. Okay. So we will put the particular matter to vote, and the chairperson shall call the roll and note the vote of each director. So he will say, chairperson will say, Mr. A, is it a yes or no? So Mr. A will say yes for me. So it has been recorded. Now it is clearly recorded. You cannot later on say, no, I said no. How are you writing yes? I will say, wait, I will show you the video recording. Understand the matter? The importance of recording the meeting is this. So now, Mr. Chairman, he will ask Mr. B, please say yes or no. Mr. B will say no. Mr. C, yes. Mr. D, no. Mr. E, yes. And likewise, he will go to each and every director and he will record their vote in writing. And now what will happen? He will just count, figure out how many votes for yes, how many votes for no, and that way they will decide whether the resolution has passed or failed. And if it has passed, they will start acting on the same, and if it fails, then it will be dropped off and they will not act on that resolution. Is that clear? So a motion can be effected by casting votes against it. Also at its same time, you need to take care of one thing, that no unauthorized person should get an access to this meeting. Okay, because from the commencement of the meeting till the conclusion, not even a single person, may it be a technical person, not even a single person except the chairperson and the company secretary and any person whose presence is required for that particular meeting, and the directors whose presence are required for the board meeting, no one else should either physically or through video conferencing, with permission, without permission, or anything, should not be allowed in the meeting, except in case of disabled, and you can take permission and then you can ask him to be present. But other than that, randomly, no one can be present in the meeting. Even if he or she is a spouse of a managing director, they cannot be in the meeting. Or your family member, even a kid, we don't allow anyone except those, access the board of directors and persons required in that meeting. No one should get access to those meetings. Okay, after once each and every agenda has been discussed, at the end of a discussion on each agenda item, because an agenda item, maybe there can be a list of things that we need to take care of. We need to take care of financial statement, annual returns. We need to take care of what some upcoming business opportunities, upcoming threats. We have to talk about some new contracts, new projects that we are about to start. So there can be n number of things in the agenda. So once suppose we have done one discussion, then what will we do? At the end of the particular discussion on each agenda item, the chairperson of the meeting shall announce the summary of the decision taken. What he will do is just reiterate whatever you have discussed. Okay, we'll do this, then we'll do this, then we'll do this. They all agree, they have put it to vote, majority people have voted in favor and the resolution passed. Still chairman will have to repeat whatever has happened. He will repeat and reiterate that yes, we have discussed on this particular agenda, then we have put it to vote, and this number of people said yes, and as normal resolution was required and number of no's were very much less than number of yes, we declared that the resolution passed, and hence we are going to take this particular action in upcoming. So what he will do, he will announce the summary of the decisions taken on such item. Okay, along with the names of directors who dissented from the decision taken by majority. Please note this down. Why is it important for the chairperson to specifically highlight people who have dissented? Dissented means who have said no for that resolution. So suppose 10 people were present in that meeting. Out of those 10 people, 7 directors voted in favor of resolution, while 3 directors voted against the resolution. So what happened? The resolution was requiring only ordinary resolution and it passed by 70% majority. So okay, the resolution was passed. Still, as a chairperson, I will specifically take name of those 3 persons who have specifically said no to the transaction. There is 2 basic logics behind this. One, if it so happens that this decision was not in the favor of company, if it happens that after 6 months down the line, company realizes that whatever decisions that they have taken in that particular meeting through majority was a wrong decision, then these 3 directors, their credibility increases. Why? Because they have said no on that moment as well. So if we would have listened to them, we would not have faced loss. So their credibility increases, their performance increases, and their ranking increases. Second of the most, what if someone is, they say politics is everywhere, right? So the higher the level you go, the higher the politics it is. So if it so happens that while doing that particular act, someone from the company is not, making it easier for us to work, or maybe giving us troubled times or hard times, those 3 directors may be looked at with suspicion. Why? Because they were not agreeing to whatever the company is doing. So they might be the ones creating ruckus, or maybe creating a harder environment for that thing to happen. So even that we can see, and basically it clearly defines so who has said yes and who has said no. Okay, so whoever is dissenting needs to be clearly isolated from the ones who are assenting to the resolution. And now meeting is done, resolution has been passed, we have announced the resolution. Now we will try and make the minutes of the meeting. So we cannot make the final minutes as such. Why right away we cannot make final minutes? Because what you will be doing, you will be making a draft minutes. You will be writing whatever happened in the meeting in that particular minute, and you will give this draft minutes to each and every director who was present in that meeting. you will ask for them to review the minutes and accept that whatever is written in that minutes is correct, and that is what exactly happened in that meeting. And once they have accepted that, then only we can, chairperson can, include it in the final minutes and, sign and accept those minutes. So first draft minutes will be made and will be sent for confirmation, and it will be, the minutes shall disclose the particulars of directors who attended the meeting through video conferencing or other audio visual means, and then this draft will be circulated among all the directors, and within 15 days of the meeting, either in writing or in electronic mode, the board of directors who were present should accept. So first thing what we are doing is we are circulating the draft. So first thing what we are doing is draft minutes is being circulated within 15 days of the meeting. Okay, whether in writing or in electronic form. Once this draft minutes are received by the directors, within next 7 days, directors are going to revert back. Yeah, whatever is written in the meeting is exactly what has happened in the meeting. And once they have assented to whatever is happening, now the meeting will be finalized and will be entered in the minute book. Minute book, what do you mean by minute book? Minute book is a book specifically maintained to record the minutes of the meeting. Okay, you understand this? So first, in audiovisual means, what we will do is we will make a draft minute book, draft minutes, and within 15 days we will send it to all the directors who are present in the meeting, and we will ask them. Okay, I'll ask every director who has attended the meeting that whether okay, you have attended personally or electronic form, doesn't matter. Whatever I have written in the draft minute is accurate, and as it is, whatever has happened I have written in the book, please accept this. And within 7 days, or maybe it can happen that for that particular meeting, board have decided to keep a longer time, say 10 days. So that is up to board to decide how many days they need for them to be confirmed the minutes. So it can happen that board of directors decide, okay, we will take 10 days to confirm the minutes. We'll have to go through, because it was a huge long minute book, a long meeting, and there are like 20 pages of minutes. So we will take time to go through all the 20 pages, and then we will say yes, whatever is written is right or whatever is written is wrong. So they can decide on a higher period, but basically what Companies Act gives us is 7 days time. It gives us 7 days time, or says you can keep a higher period if you want. Maybe any reasonable time. You can keep less time as well if you think it's reasonable. Okay. And after the receipt of draft meeting, it will be, we will wait for their approval, the director's approval. Okay. And once they are approved, then it will be entered into the minute book. And it will be signed by minute book will be signed by the chairperson of the company. So this is the requirement of video conferencing board meeting. Okay, this is very important. It's very, it's unique and amazing way that Companies Act is allowing us to enter into all this kind of stuff, video conferencing meeting and all. Okay. So I have one more question. Is it necessary for all the directors to attend the board meeting of the company held throughout the year? Like, you have to be present in all the board meetings. Is it required by law? So we have read one thing in previous chapter. What we have in disqualifications, we have read 164.1.2. We have read disqualification. We have read that if a director absents himself in all the board meetings that is held throughout the year, then he is disqualified, is vacated his office. We have read that in 167 vacation of office, there was a specific point with this respect to this, that once all the meetings that are held in last 12 months, if one particular director is not attending any meeting, not even a single meeting in last 12 months, we will assume that he has vacated his office. But it says nothing about electronically entering into a meeting. Okay, so it is not like you have to be physically attending all the meetings, but yeah, you can attend some physically, you can attend electronically also, it doesn't matter. But it is not a compulsion to attend all the meetings. At the same time, you cannot miss all the meetings as well. So you have to be present in some of them, or maybe try to be present in as many meetings as possible, because it will help the company to function better. Because more the number of brains that are involved in the company, better the company will do in future. Okay, so let us talk about this notice. So when is the notice to be given, served for the meeting? So at least 7 days notice, that too in writing, needs to be given to every director of the company. And it has to be, what it has to be done, like it has to be sent via, by hand delivery you can send it, maybe, or maybe by post you can send it, or maybe by electronic means also you can send the notice. But please, at least 7 days before the meeting, you have to send the notice to each and every director of a company. So what if we have very urgent business to take care of and we can't wait for 7 days, like we will call a meeting and then after a week we can hold a meeting. We don't have that kind of time. We have to decide right away, right now, what will we do? Okay, just you have read about independent director, right? Therein we have read about this. Okay, I'll just reiterate that point here. Suppose you want to transact some urgent business, you can give a shorter notice, say 1 day, 2 days notice as well. But then what you will have to do, you will have to make sure that at least one independent director, if you have appointed an independent director in your company, then, because we know, we have read the threshold in 149 as well. Section 149 gives us a threshold that after passing this threshold, you need to have at least 2/3, like for every listed company you have 2/3 number of total directors. We have read that, we have studied everything regarding that. So if you have crossed those threshold, you will have to appoint independent director. And if you have appointed an independent director and you want to call a board meeting in a shorter notice compared to 7 days, then you will have to make sure that at least one independent director is present in that meeting. And what if there is no independent director? In absence of independent director, decisions that are taken at such shorter notice meeting shall be circulated to all the directors. It will be circulated to all the directors and it will be considered as final only on ratification by at least one independent director if you have appointed independent director. Okay. So first thing what we will try is, we will try one independent director to be personally present in the meeting. If so happens that that particular director is not able to attend the meeting, you decide what needs to be taken care of and then circulate that. You circulate that among everyone and it should be ratified by the required majority. Also at least one independent director should ratify that whatever they have decided in that shorter called notice meeting was okay and valid for the company. Okay, this is just to check that by misusing this section, they should not do something which is not in the benefits of the company. Now, the notice of the meeting shall inform the directors regarding the option that is available to them. So notice itself will contain an option that okay, yeah, you can physically be present in the meeting, or else you can decide and be electronically present in the meeting. It's entirely up to you. So if you want to attend electronically, what all things will be required? Like you will need this login ID, you will need this password, you will have to go to this link, or maybe you will have to download this software. Maybe you have to be on a secured VPN network. What all requirements are there for that particular meeting to be joined electronically should also be mentioned in the notice. You will have to help the directors so that to make them make it easy for them to join the meeting. And on receipt of notice, director intending to participate through video conferencing, he will communicate the same to the company chairperson and company secretary, and they will prepare everything in the background for that director to join. Okay. What if there is no intimation is received that you can participate electronically? What if like a director is saying nothing about that he will attend physically or electronically? The member of the chairperson and the company secretary will assume that he is going to be present physically only. Okay. Now we have learned a lot about meetings. We know how, when 7 days notice is required, we know what all things should be going with the notice. We know how to take electronic meeting, how to take permissions, how to make the minutes, how to make draft and then finalize them. There's an awful lot of things to take care of in one particular section, right? So sir, what happens if you break the section? What happens if you fail to give a notice? Sir, as per section 173 subsection 4, if you fail to give the notice, then rupees 25,000 is the penalty that the officer will have to pay. Which officer, sir? The particular officer who has been assigned with the duty to send the notice. So if there is any person who is assigned with that particular duty to send the notice, and if he fails to send the notice in that particular manner, rupees 25,000 will be levied as penalty on that particular director because he has failed to perform his duty. Understand? Okay. So it is simple now that members can call a board meeting anytime they want. What members will have to do, they will have to ask the company secretary or the chairman that I need to hold a board meeting for this particular matter. Please do all the arrangements, and then the chairperson and the company secretary will initiate the process. They will make the notice, they will follow the Companies Act, they will send the notice, they will give the option of electronically joining, they will prepare everything in the background that needs to be prepared, taken care of. They will receive the intimation that I am differently able, I need some help. Someone will say I will be attending electronically, someone will say I will be attending physically, someone will say I will be attending electronically but then he will attend physically. So for everything like this, the chairperson and company secretary will take care of the meeting. Is that clear? Okay. And they will convene the board meeting on behalf of that particular director. Okay. So now you have understood that any director can call for a meeting, and company secretary and if any, and the chairperson will be very happy to convene that particular meeting. Okay. So this concludes our section 173 discussion, and we have learned a lot in this particular section itself. One section, but huge section, but very important section. So I'll ask you to just go through the entire process once or twice, and maybe you will be able to recollect each and everything, because there are a lot of things that needs to be taken care of in this particular section, because it's the main section which talks about meeting. So I will give you a brief, we will discuss whatever we have done, and then we will finish it off for the day. So we know now that section 170 talks about board meetings. We know in this particular section chapter we have 20, 26, 21, this sections 173 to 193. We know 17 rules are there, and we know that section 173.1 talks about board meetings. It says within 30 days of incorporation, first board meeting, every calendar year 4 board meeting, gap between 2 meetings 120 days. If you are a one-person company, small company, dormant company, in each half of the calendar year 1 board meeting, between 2 board meetings 90 days gap max. Then if you are section 8 companies, in each 6 calendar years, calendar months, 1 board meeting. Nothing about a gap, but make sure 137.92 has been complied with. If you're a private company, not being a startup company, then again in each half 1, no gap, 137 and 92. Okay, if you are one OPC with only one director, no tension. Only one director, then nothing. You have to take care of nothing. This doesn't apply to you only. And then how can you take them? You can take physical board meeting, or you can do video conferencing, or other audio visual means. Other audio visual means, we will have 2 thumb rules: record and recognize the participation of director, and record and store the proceedings of the meeting. Participation, proceedings, both. Record, recognize participation, record and store proceedings. Record, recognize participation, record and store what? Proceedings. And then there are certain 5 things that are not supposed to be taken care of by electronically meeting, like video conferencing meeting. First is approval of financial statement, approval of board report, approval of prospectus, audit committee meeting for considering financial statements including CFS if any to be approved by the board. Such kind of meetings will have to be done physically only. And then approval of matters relating to amalgamation, merger, acquisition, demerger, takeovers and all that matters. Also, if you want to take the meeting electronically, you have to take care of certain things. You have to make sure that all the things that are necessary to be done for electronic meeting are taken care of. The chairperson and secretary will see that integrity is being maintained, proper equipments are present with the people, and that the proceedings are getting recorded as well as stored for safekeeping properly. No other person is connected in that, like no unauthorized access in that meeting, and ensure the participants are able to see and hear each other properly. If you are differently able, you can ask for help as well with prior permission of board. And then notice has been given properly. Notice to director itself points out that they have an option to join electronically, or else they can also join physically. You can give a year-long declaration that whatever meetings you are going to carry on throughout a year, I will be joining electronically. But that does not debars you to be personally, physically present in that particular meeting. And then any director who intends to participate electronically will have to intimate the company. And if you fail to intimate, the company will decide, will assume that you are going to attend physically. And then there is a process, there is a roll call. Chairperson will call names, and you will have to say your name, your location. You will have to declare that I have received the agenda and all the information that is required. You will say that according to me only I am having access. From my end, no one else has access to this meeting but only me. Only I can hear you, only I can see you. Okay, that you will have to accept. And then if the quorum is present physically, then some of the directors can join from electronic video conferencing mode, and still you can conduct any kind of business, even including those 5 businesses that we have talked about. Okay, and then signing, how will we sign the register? So if you say that I want to sign, so we will deem that, we will assume that you have signed the registers. Okay, we will assume that you have signed the register. And then again we have read about identification of participants. Then we have read about what if someone some words are garbled or some interruptions has happened in the meeting. Chairperson will take care of such interruptions, and he may even ask you to repeat whatever you were saying. Okay, how will you object to certain things? You can say, okay, let's vote on the issue, and whatever happens on the vote will decide whether we should do it or not. Okay, you can do that as well. Okay, no unauthorized person should have access, and as soon as one particular agenda item is finished, the chairperson will repeat and reiterate that we have discussed this, we have decided this, and this number of people have said yes, and specifically name all the dissenting members, all the members who have dissented from that particular this resolution. Their names will be taken deliberately by the chairperson to know who was dissenting the particular this resolution. And then you will make a draft, and you will send the draft within 15 days of the meeting. Once all the members receive the draft, they will maybe within 7 days or any time as we decided by board, they will revert whether the draft is correct or not. All these things will be taken care of, and after completion also the chairperson will sign the accepted draft minutes, and they will include those into the minute book. Means they will be final, the draft will be final once approved by all the members and signed by the chairperson. And also there is no requirement as such that you should attend all the general meetings. At the same time, there is section 167(1)(b) which states that if you are not joining any of the meetings held in last previous 12 months, it results in vacation of office, that we have already studied. Okay, notice should be given within at least 7 days notice should be given, like 7 days prior notice should be given that after 7 days we are going to take the meeting. Minimum to every director, maybe hand delivery, physical delivery by post, or maybe by electronic means. But then the notice should also give them an option, okay, you can join electronically as well. And if it's an urgent business, what you will have to make sure that at least one independent director is present in the shorter notice meeting, or if even that is not possible, then whatever you decide in that shorter called meeting, just circulate the decision, let other people vote on those decisions, and if at least one independent director votes and ratifies whatever you have decided in the shorter called notice, then that particular meeting is validated, ratified. And if whatever is required to join a meeting electronically should also be given along with the notice of the meeting. And you should give them a detail as to how they are supposed to join the meeting. And if you fail to give the notice, then 25,000 rupees penalty will be applied on you. So this is what we have gone through and learned today. So it was amazing to be a part of this class. So thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity and investing that much time with us. And see you on next video. God bless you all. Bye bye. Take care.